Great day. It is Friday. Finish strong Friday. Woo! We're going to do our best to finish strong. And I'm glad you're here. Welcome to a Love Talk with the Amish Matchmakers, men's edition, where we help you, where we help singles, Amish singles, to find godly spouses and create epic marriages and develop legacies that are rooted in freedom and faith. Faith and freedom. Well, it is a powerful time to be alive. How are you? What's going on in your world? I know that as you jump on, love to hear from you. Say hello. Let me know you're here. I do enjoy hearing from everyone when they jump on. And we're live here with you. And I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're ready to finish strong. Finishing strong. Why do we say that on Friday? Well, we have a product and a course that we call Connection DNA. And in that course, we have what's called His Creation Code. On Fridays, we talk about the different days of creation that we can experience if we choose. We can what his creation code is based on Genesis, and every day of the week based on what God did in creation. Day one, right? Created heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. And God said, let there be light. And so, and the light was good. So we see in Genesis where there's days of creation. Well, on the seventh day, we see how God saved the best for last. And he says that. And when he created man, he said it was not just good, but it was very good. And so there is powerful to go through creation code and recognize the example that God has and does for us through that process. And so in day 7, yeah, he doesn't not work. It's a day day 6, he created man. I said 7. Day 6, he created man. It was Friday when he created man. And so that's why we always say, finish strong. You work hard 6 days, and at sundown on day 6 is our start of our Shabbat and day of rest. Good morning, Jesse. What's yours? Morning routine to wake up. Oh man, I am tired this morning. It's been a busy week. This coffee is nice. So, good morning to you. But do you have a morning routine of waking up? Something you eat or drink to help wake you up? We will be talking about triggers to triumph today. The last 2 days, yesterday we covered Epic 30. The day before we covered MVP, creating your best identity as MVP. Epic 30 is the daily activity. I know some people actually, though, when they first started doing Epic 30, or some people just do it daily, every day, 7 days a week, because they utilize it so much as a strategy to help them improve the way they think, speak, and connect. But the way we have people do it, we instruct people to do it, is 5 days a week, and cease from what you normally do on Saturday. Rest. So that, and then also on Sunday, we call it the first day of the week, the planning day, because it is the first day of the week. Interesting fact about creation. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but man's first day in existence, as he was created on Friday, and then he entered into rest. So I think a lot of times we think of um, rest being after our week's work, right? But amazing thought process, and amazingly, rest, we are to work and approach life and our work and our week from a place of rest. So he's brought into this world. We were on day 6, and then day 7, at the sundown of day 6, we then entered into rest. And we weren't the one working. God was, you know, 6 days he worked, and then he entered into Shabbat. And I love Shabbat. Tonight we will be having a Shabbat celebration with friends and family, and also a Christmas party. We're calling it a Christmas party, but we love Shabbat. We love doing creating the challah, the olives, and just enjoying Shabbat together and celebrating together. It's a good time. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Excited for several friends coming out. Good morning. Oh no. Wow. Who is that? Somebody saying they lost their mother. Hey, I'm sorry to hear that. It's so hard. Our heart and prayers go out to you. I don't know who the person is. That's one part that's a little challenging about. Sorry for your loss. God bless you. And not sure who that is. Tell me who you are, though. I'd love to pray for you and your family. It's always tough to lose your mom. Goodness. And Jesse there telling us about his morning routine. Starts with the evening before, otherwise my feet hit the floor. Drink a glass of water, and I just do it. Like it. Oh, it's good. Very good. Well, um, we will be talking about triggers to triumph. But I wondered if there was any questions, or if anybody had any thoughts or comments about the last couple days. The mission, vision, peculiar, creating your best identity. Was that helpful? Who watched it? Did you create your MVP? I love Jesse, my partner and dear friend, good man that is has developed a community, single to married, and on the school platform, SKOOL, which reminds me, he will be having an event this weekend for singles, and it's called How to Get Engaged in 12 Weeks or Less. And he's actually asked Chantel and I to be guest speakers in his community, he and Irina, to share the strategies, to share the things that we have done to help people, where we mentor them And he was actually a product of the product, as they say. He was one of them that went through the process and was engaged in less than 12 weeks. And then he happened to be one of the special ones where he got engaged in less than 12 weeks and then immediately turned around and within 24 hours had a wedding right here at our ranch in Georgia. It's quite a special time. And now he's been married 5 years and helps a lot of other people to create their epic lives. And it starts with marriage. We believe that, with the process of getting married. And so he helps them to get engaged. And that's the single to married group, single, and then the number two, married. So you're going to want to check that out if you're single. If you're not single, but you have friends that are single, get them that link. Get them introduced to that community. It's a powerful community, and lots of people are getting engaged. We just had an engagement a couple weeks ago, so we are always excited to see lives transforming and people coming together and connecting and finding their spouse. It's really cool. It's really an honor and a privilege to be a part of that. Okay. Jesse has a question here. This is good. I'm glad he's asking it. It's fun to be able to discuss some things and probably to tie in well to Triggers to Triumph, actually. I'll be right back. Stand by and we'll get into that question, Jesse. Thank you. Yep. Good morning. You get to hang out with us this morning. You know, could bring Jesse on. It's probably pretty quiet in his house. All right. So the question is, let's go into this question. I appreciate the question. And Mr. Coffin bringing a question. And this will tie in nicely to Sugars to Triumph. Very broad question. He said, I had someone ask me how not to get mad at his boss. It is a broad question, but I'm thinking about how to respond, how to not get mad. First of all, the first thing that I would recognize is when you focus on something, you give it energy. That's step one. Because even though you say, how do I not get mad? You're still focused on getting mad, even though you put the word not in there. How do I not smoke a cigarette? You're trying to quit smoking and you say, how do I not quit smoking? Or sorry, how do I not smoke? Goodness. Some more coffee. Wake up, Carlos. How do I not smoke a cigarette? How do I not smoke a cigarette? How do I not eat chocolate? How do I not eat chocolate? How do I not drink that soda? How do I not eat bread? All things you're not going to do, right? All of a sudden, all you can think about is that cigarette. You're trying to quit smoking. You're saying, how do I not smoke? How do I not smoke that cigarette? How do I not smoke that cigarette? You're trying to figure out how to not smoke that cigarette. And you're actually giving energy and giving life to smoking a cigarette. So chances are you're going to smoke that cigarette. And it's interesting how that does affect someone to focus on that when they say, even though they think they're not, by saying not. That's the first thing that I'd recognize on this question is how they say not get mad. Well, that's step one is if, whatever you're going to stop doing or whatever you want to, you have to not focus on that. And the way you focus on, if you say not, I want to not smoke, then you're actually going to focus on smoking. And chances are you're going to get right back into it because you're giving so much energy and life to it. Where the best results come in, and we've helped people through addictions and through hurts and hangups and things. And years and years ago, I was one of the original people to go to the training of Celebrate Recovery, where it is about helping people through addictions and hurts and hangups and habits that they have that are not beneficial. And so, very familiar with that. I mean, we're talking, and I think that was in, I'm going to age myself, but that would have been when I was 19 and I'm now 49. So, that would have been 30 years ago, I believe, that Celebrate Recovery was launched. Rick Warren out of California, Purpose Driven Life. That's where it started, originated out of his church in California, and went to one of the first trainings on becoming a leader and facilitator for Celebrate Recovery. And I was living in Arizona at the time when I went to Celebrate Recovery. And I tell you that story because I learned very, very long time ago how important it is. And at the time, I also would have studied and learned about NA and AA, and again, some good um, groups to help you get free of addictions. And one of the things they talk about is, yeah, where your focus and energy goes, your attention flows, and it really does create that thing that you're trying to not do. And so we have to shift our mindset first towards what we want. If I don't how do I not get mad? If I don't want to get mad, then I need to focus on a different solution. I need to understand that things are in cycles. Okay, so in life we have cycles. So and there's always a cycle of the habit. If it's your habit to get angry and mad, first of all, another thing that I would also bring up too is um the whole anger thing has been told to us that it is a sin to get angry. Well, it's actually not. In the Bible, God says, "Be ye angry." The Word says, "Be ye angry and sin not." Again, it's the result of what that anger creates. Now, I know it probably creates some frustration in you and some. I just want to give you that perspective, though, as well. I think I would. So there's threefold to this. First of all, is just by saying not doesn't cancel it. It actually still focuses on that thing. So we want to shift completely what we're focusing on. Number two is to recognize that anger is not always a bad thing. And obviously, it's very broad. Like Jesse said, what do you get? What is it that the boss is doing that is making you upset or angry or mad? Um, Understanding that, again, it's what you do with that anger, what you do with that being mad or upset, right? Because a lot of times that can be fuel for getting results, that can be fuel for taking your life to the next level or making a decision that brings you life. Again, it might be a point or a place, depending on the scenario, where it's time to move on. It's time to do something different. It's time to go after things you've been wanting to go after that you've been shrinking back and not taking action on, starting your new business or starting your new life and doing something different. So, and then the third thing um, is to say, instead of focusing on the mad thing, what would I focus on then? Because there's always something beneficial, that you can shift it towards. Again, being angry or being upset could be beneficial, again, to help you to make a decision and progress and move forward and take action. However, depending on the scenario, like I said, if you're just lacking self control, because usually that's what, a lot of times that is what the being angry or mad or upset is we're not mastering our emotions, and that's what self-control is. That's what self-discipline is to master your emotions. And we've talked about this before about being able to master your emotions as a man is very brings much confidence, because if I can have a victory even in my emotions, I can then feel more confident to as a man in who I am, and knowing that people cannot control me. And so when I have this understanding of mastering my emotions, to master your emotions is to have self discipline and to um, become more confident and to have a victory in that way. So I say that to say this, that you are the master of your emotions and you are mastering those emotions and you're becoming more confident. It's a powerful thing. And one of the ways, a little trick that we have talked about that's real, there's a reason why, when they hear you're getting upset, they'll say count to 10. You start learning these strategies, because it is true to pause and contemplate and think and breathe. That's the number one thing, is breathe. Because when you start getting upset or angry, or emotional, you're going to find that when you're emotional, that your breathing changes. So if I can master my breathing in that moment, oftentimes we will see ourselves mastering then that emotion and having self-discipline to not react in the fashion that we normally did. So we've got this is where, again, going back into triggers to triumph. When we see something that triggers us, it can trigger us into a cycle. And that's where triggers to triumph comes in, is what is our story? What do we do when we get triggered? And typically it starts this cycle. When this happens and this happens and this happens, right? We have these reactions. So it creates reactions. A trigger is something that causes us to go into an autoresponder, that oftentimes we don't even realize we're doing it, because we immediately enter into the reaction. And typically the reaction will be fight or flight in those situations. So I get triggered by something. Okay, in this case, we're Jesse's question we're talking about. His boss made him mad. Not Jesse, but someone asked him a question about this, right? So, morning, by the way, good morning. Good morning. Put these up here since you said it. Thank you. Awesome. Coffee, yes. All right. Let me know who you are, by the way, if you'd like. I love knowing who's on here, because we have all these code names on YouTube, not knowing exactly who they are and where you're from. That's awesome. We'll acknowledge you. All right. So, going back to Jesse's question that somebody asked him, and he was wanting my feedback on it, especially connecting it to triggers to triumph. All right, so let's say you have a boss that, let's see, what can we say that makes you mad? Let's say that um, he, the boss, asked you to mop the floors again, and you're like, but I just mopped them. It's like, it wasn't good enough. Go do it again. Like, made you mop the floor again, and that happens often. Well, and then you immediately, what's your response, right? We have an auto response. A lot of times it's fight or flight, like you get mad, and then maybe your response is you start yelling at your boss, I don't like working here, da, da, da. Or you automatically walk out, right? You just walk out the door. Then you got to come back and, you know, again, what is the auto response? Or maybe it's just internal. You get very angry and frustrated and inside, and you're mad and upset and flustered, and you cannot even think straight, right? So you've got this automatic auto responder. What is it? Again, it's very interesting, because why we go through triggers to triumph is I have this auto responder in a situation that causes me to get mad or angry, right? Automatically go into a state of anger because he asked me to mop the floor again, or asked me to mop the floor in general. or maybe it's told me to do something instead of asked me to do something, and all of a sudden I'm triggered. Well, that trigger means that I go into autoresponder and I automatically start doing a reaction of some sort. Maybe it's fight or flight, or maybe it's even freeze. But then in your mind, you start to you start to feel depressed, right? Notice you have this autoresponder. You start feeling angry and upset, and you automatically go to the thought process of I'm piece of crap. I'm not worth anything, right? You start all this negative self talk of what a loser you are and how you fail all the time, right? Do you follow me? So the boss says, go mop, um, do it again. You messed up over here on this thing when you're cleaning the restaurant or when you're cleaning the offices or when you're, you know, I shouldn't have to tell you to clean, do this. And you feel belittled, you feel put down, you feel angry, and it creates anger that makes you and then do negative self-talk. Notice I'm doing this little cycle this way, this way, this way, and what it creates, right? Because we call it a cycle. I guess I should go this way, cycle. Um, and a habit that gets so you get triggered by that. You start doing negative self-talk. I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. What's wrong with me? And then let's say that then the next thing you medicate because you're so angry, you feel like such an idiot, such a loser that you medicate, and maybe that medication is something that soothes you. Maybe it's alcohol. Maybe it's some form of drugs. Maybe when you feel that, oh, see, I can't, the patch didn't work. I'm going to go smoke. That's the only thing that will relieve this anger and pain. Or maybe it's pornography because you feel rejected and you're like, well, this is where I can feel accepted by this fantasy, right? Or I don't know. I name drugs. I name alcohol. There's a lot of times we call it a medication. You're medicating with some form, something or another. Maybe it's eating. Food can be a medication. Like, well, when I so then we've got first of all the thing that took place that made me mad. That's the trigger, and then we've got the autoresponder that we begin to do negative self-talk. I'm a loser. I hate myself. What's wrong with you? Why are you always failing? We got these words and these talks in our head, and then it begins to put us into action towards medicating. We're going to medicate it. We're going to treat it some way, and that treatment is something that brings destruction. Maybe again, it's eating sweets or cookies. I remember I used to go when I was triggered and felt like a loser and had that negative self talk. I would literally go eat like weird stuff. Like I'd go to, let's say, like Burger King and go get two Whoppers and just chow down two big old Whopper burgers and at a fast food restaurant called Burger King, if you don't know it. And again, it's weird, but it's like that's what nobody can control me. I just leave the house in a fight with my previous wife and felt like a loser. And I'd go eat and felt like that was the way I treated and medicated and said, well, I'm not going to be controlled by her. I can do this one thing. It was silly. And I'm going to go eat. Then I'm going to do something that nobody can control. I would eat it fast. I remember being angry and eating. This is my medication. It'll soothe me. And I don't know. It was just, again, I'm just describing one of my things would happen to me as well. So it was similar too, because um, I had my previous wife, she would, do something that made me feel rejected or made me feel like a loser. She would get after me like a little kid. And then I would feel like a little kid get in trouble. And then I'd be, you're such a loser. You're an idiot. What's wrong with you? You're stupid. Why would you do that? And all this negative self talk, right? And then I would want to go medicate in some way. In some cases, it was back then in my previous marriage, it was medicating with pornography and 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 medicating again with food, ways that I felt lesser than, and then I would try to soothe or medicate with. And so then all of a sudden, whatever the responses or satisfaction, then you feel worse. Like you get satisfied in the moment by eating two big old Whoppers and drinking an energy drink or whatever and being in control. Soda and two big Whoppers. You medicate with food, but then at the end you feel terrible and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why did I do that? And then in the case of pornography, and medicating with pornography, then you'll find, and what I found too is in then the final like thing of would be uh, going to have a release, right? Potentially in that scenario with pornography, then masturbating and having an orgasm, and then when you're done with that, that's like all of a sudden the end point, if you would, right? So the cycle, and then the end point is the release, and then all of a sudden you feel the guilt and the shame for, why did I just do that? What's wrong with me? Why did I do pornography? Why did I? And you're like riddled with shame and guilt for doing that, but we don't realize that it all started with that trigger. And and so recognizing what those patterns are, what those cycles are, is very, very, very important to identify and recognize those cycles first and foremost. And back when, again, in my original marriage, and where when I used to even medicate, and yeah, it was interesting because there was a situation where I was literally diagnosed with a sexual addiction. And so what happened was they diagnosed, they could see my neural pathways in my brain was certain, where I would have this trigger, go into negative self-talk, and then medicate, and then the conclusion or the finishing of that medication, whether it's drugs and alcohol, right? And then you're all of a sudden you get maybe drunk or high and pass out, because you get to that place of you're just medicating and you just want to, you know disappear, if you will, or want to just not exist in that moment. And so you pass out from drugs or alcohol, and then you wake up and you come to, and now you're riddled with shame and guilt. Do you follow me? It's like there's usually a conclusion to that's why it's a cycle. You get the trigger, negative self talk, the action that takes place because of that negative self-talk and snowball, and then the resolution or the completion of that addiction, and then the guilt and shame for feeling like you failed again. Do you see the cycle? So that's a cycle of addiction. That and again, getting mad at your boss could be that, but getting mad at your spouse, your kids, for something they did. And so that's where we recognize the trigger, and then the cycle of addiction. That is a non-beneficial addiction, potential harmful addiction. And so what it is that we understand is, first of all, identifying the trigger. And so we have a process called Triggers to Triumph that I want to share now a little bit with you, because now recognizing the trigger and then recognizing actually what that trigger creates is a cycle that is not beneficial, an addiction that can lead you to death and destruction over time. It just chips away at your life and causes destruction around you. Whether if it's drug and alcohol, could cause you to eventually drive drunk or do something while you're medicating with drugs or alcohol, to where when you're in an intoxicated state, that you do harmful things because you don't know what you're doing. And maybe you drive or something and get arrested for driving intoxicated or while you're under the influence. Or maybe it's food, and you become morbidly obese because you just medicate with food all the time, and you overeat until you become morbidly obese. There's lots of different things. Or it could be when I was younger and my treatment was the sexual addiction. What would be that there was pornography involved because of sexual addiction. There was actually, in my previous marriage, in the beginning of it, there was an affair that took place even. So again, and she stayed with me again. And Lee, my previous wife, who has passed away, God bless her and the family. Um, when she stayed with me, I remember thinking that it was done. She was going to divorce me. She was going to leave me. And I am very grateful to the fact that she um, said, no, we're going to get some help. And that's when then I went to a counselor and a psychologist, who actually had a brain scan, could do my brain scan and see that I actually had a true diagnosed addiction of sexual addiction, and could see how the trigger would take place and the neural passageways that would get turned on, in the sense of, once I started that negative talk, then the action would want, I get the feelings of negative action because the neural passageways, it had become an addiction and become a habit of how I treat that pain or that hurt. That trigger would be with some sort of sexual activity. And so to medicate it. And usually the person who had triggered me would have been Lee at the time, my wife at the time. So I say all this to, even like I said, introducing triggers to triumph. So now where does triggers to triumph come in? Well, it's recognizing that I am in a trigger, I get triggered, something that causes me to then now go into fight or flight mode, could go into this mode of then degrading myself, negative self-talk. So because we get triggered and then we start having that negative self-talk, that's an identifier of the fact that now we know and understand that this thing is attached to a situation or a story or something that took place in us with us when we were younger. And potentially, we have found most of the time, a lot of people will trace it back to when they were teenagers. And then we say, well, actually, it's probably before then because these hurts, these hangups, these negative self talks potentially happened in your formative years, which would be like 0 to puberty, potentially 0 to 12, 0 to 10, 0 to 13. Those are your formative years because you're forming your story, you're forming your understand, you're forming your patterns and processes, you're forming your habits during that time. And they are born and created out of the stories, out of the situations you faced, out of the hurts, out of the so that's why when you're triggered, you then identify that you're triggered. Number one. Number two is then you start recognizing and looking and understanding potentially where that came from. And I'm super excited, by the way, because today at about probably between 7:30 and 8, 7:45 or so, we will be going live, Chantel and I. And Chantel is the one who taught me this procedure of triggers to triumph, of taking that negative story of where you were triggered and caught in um, a death type cycle, a cycle that doesn't bring life, a cycle that brings harm potentially over time, like I expressed. She taught me this process of how to take that trigger and to utilize it for triumph, to utilize it for a better story, to utilize it for actually a blessing in the end. So it's crazy how that works, but stick with me. And by the way, you'll get to hear more about it through Chantel, and we'll give more examples, and she'll be able to express it as well. She is the one that taught me this process, and I helped to develop then the actual step-by-step system because of my background in consulting and systems and processes and strategic planning. And so that business thing that I learned at a very young age has then helped us in this process of triggers to triumph. And she taught me the process, and then over the years we've worked on it together to make it help explain it, make it simpler to understand. So you get triggered, you got to recognize and then acknowledge and see that you are triggered and that you start to see the negative self-talk. Well, when you have that negative self-talk and then it leads to a non-beneficial or a habit that is or a treating, you're medicating that thing that is going to bring you harm to you or someone else or people around you in the long run, because again the medication is the thing, and even this negative self-talk. And then again, once the fulfillment of that medication takes place, then you feel the guilt and shame pour in, and what a failure. And it's like you almost, sometimes people can get stuck in that loop for quite a while. We see people that just never come out of being high or never come out of being drunk or never come out of the addiction, and they're just constantly in that loop and never breaking free from it. That can snowball really, really hardcore and can keep people stuck in it for months or years or, you know, yeah, a life of destruction. It happens. So now I recognize the trigger. And then in that moment, you say, okay, I see this trigger. When was the very first time? This is the question. And Chantel is amazing at this. We've created power questions over the years to help you identify when was the first time I had that negative self-talk, that I heard those words. or I experienced that. Because, right, you get triggered in this case, is like my boss, my wife, my mom, my dad, my brother, somebody said something to me, and I'm an adult now, and it triggered me, and all of a sudden I have this negative self-talk. You idiot, you're such an idiot, you're such a screw up, you always fail, you always mess up, right? Then once you hear that negative self-talk, if you can pause and go, okay, I'm triggered, I'm feeling this, and then start writing down. In our procedure, we think about a trigger, and then we'll process through a trigger by saying, okay, I start this negative self-talk, and then you make a list of who you remember was the original voices of that negative self-talk, the people that would maybe have been there in your childhood to have done those negatives, those that were those voices talking down to you, or telling you what a loser or failure you were. And maybe they only said one thing and it just stuck with you for your whole life. It's amazing the power of words, and they didn't even mean it that way, or they were caught up in the moment and the passion and the frustration. They too were triggered, and then just took it out on you as their child, or took it out on you as their family member of some sort, in your formative years, which then created this trigger, right? And this negative talk, and then all of a sudden you're so angry and frustrated in the moment, that and feeling such pain and such a loser, that then even as a young child you figured out some way to relieve the pressure and the pain and the guilt of what you were feeling by doing some sort of activity or action. And there are different things that even children will do, and then the shame and guilt that comes from that. It's so recognizing, first of all, who was there, what was it? And again, if you can't remember, what do you remember? What do you remember, the situations where you first remembered this happening to you? This kind of trigger, or this kind of, when's the first time you remember someone telling you you were a loser, someone telling you you're not worth anything, and that getting after you for doing something wrong, or maybe even it is authority that said something about you or to you that made you angry? And when was the original time this happened to you? That's the first step. And then we go to what we call acknowledging who was there, what was the situation, and asking the question, essentially, who do I need to forgive? And a lot of times, not just the people that did those things to you, um, or said those things to you, but potentially, and again, there are different scenarios and situations, right, where there's cases where people are molested or abused, or physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, there's different levels and different kinds of abuse or neglect or abandonment. Like, there's so many different things that could have happened to you that caused you to then have this negative self-talk, or cause you to go into a cycle or a loop, or addiction that's harmful. And so, who was there? And maybe there's even, who do you need to forgive? And you probably, 9 times out of 10, or 10 out of 10, probably you need to put your name there, because you went through it. Even if it was some sort of abuse, you're like, why did I put me? Well, because you are probably angry and resentful and judgmental of yourself for letting it happen, especially now that you're an adult. And even though when it happened to you, you're a child, you couldn't have prevented it. You think, well, what was wrong with me? Why would I do that? Or why did I allow that? And then number two is God. Even if you're a believer, and you have this God in heaven, you're like this father supposedly, and yet he let that happen to me. What's wrong with God that he would let that, allow that to happen? And then you've got others, right? So you got self, God, and others, a list of others. Why are we making this list? Well, because these things have been controlling you. These things have been holding you back. These stories have kept you stuck in a rut and frustration, and even creating these harmful addictions and patterns and cycles that just keep repeating in your life. And you're like tired of it. Well, this is part of that step, forgiveness. We need to forgive those who were in those scenarios, and being able to acknowledge who they were, making that list. And we can go into more detail with Chantel later on, so tune into that, because there's a very specific thing, and we've even got a printout that we'll share with you, a very interactive and beneficial printout. but being able to forgive and cross off those names and things, and then begin to understand that those triggers and what they are and who was there. But then the forgiveness, what the forgiveness does is starts to allow us to release the frustration, release control of the outcome, and be able to even release um, what happens next, right? So we get triggered, we forgive and release those people, and then even the next step of forgiveness is then to understand. Again, I mentioned it briefly, but I don't know if you caught that. It's like, well, if it is your boss or a wife or somebody that they trigger you, they say something or do something that makes you feel belittled and makes you feel smaller. Even it may be the way they do it, the way their tone of voice is, the things that they say. Maybe they're not very honoring and they're negative towards you in some way. Well, having some empathy or understanding of that person is very powerful, to look at them and go, wow, hurt people will hurt. So then I'm entering into this cycle that they even create, where they treat people, bully people, or they're angry, or treat people in a negative way because of what they went through in their childhood. Right? I said it, hurt people. Like, when you've been hurt, you tend to hurt others, or if you're triggered, you tend to take it out on others. So maybe they also have a situation where they are taking it out on you. It's recognizing that they probably went through something that's causing them to be such a jerk towards me. And, and then I start my negative self-talk. Well, instead of having negative self-talk, you recognize this trigger and this story. And then when you start feeling that negative self-talk, what's the medication? That's the next thing. Because in this process of trigger to triumph, we want to have a different outcome and a different mindset and a different story that is created through this process. So if I'm triggered, I've got this thing now going in place in the negative self-talk. Well, can I recognize I'm starting the negative self-talk and stop that negative self-talk? Part of it has to do with forgiveness. Part of it has to do with releasing so that you can receive a new story, a new outcome. Release that person, release yourself, release God, ask for forgiveness, and release and bless them. So that when you do get triggered by that person now, or you're triggered by the boss or whatever, that instead you have understanding, right? You have understanding of what they've been through, and that potentially they too had something happen to them where then they treat people that way. And instead of having negative self-talk, you can begin to, because we're disrupting the flow and the cycle, right? You can begin to have understanding, and you forgive that person. You're like, okay, they obviously have some challenges that would cause them to speak down to me or belittle me or abandon me or push me away or whatever they did to trigger you. Then you can start having empathy and understanding of what they've been through that caused them to act that way. And then now what's the next thing? If I'm triggered and I'm starting to understand these negative self-talk that I have, now what is my medication? How am I going to medicate? And if somebody has been through this and understands addictions or understands cycles and habits, you understand that you're going to go into some sort of medication, or medicating yourself, or some sort of how do I say this? Some sort, you're going to yeah, a lot of people call it coping mechanism, some kind of mechanism, something that helps you to cope through the stress and the mindset of that's been triggered, and then potential negative self-talk that's been there. So we can disrupt it as well at different levels. Do you follow me? We can disrupt it at different levels and different places to help us have a different outcome. So that if I still have the negative self-talk, now I can go, oh my goodness, I'm in my cycle pattern, my negative self-talk, I can hear it. Now, what is my activity? And you can redirect the activity and disrupt it at that point too, as well, and create a beneficial addiction. You're like, what? A beneficial addiction, a beneficial habit. Instead of going to eat, medicating yourself with food or drugs or alcohol, maybe there's something you can do. I used to literally, I'd pick up, I'd feel myself that I was triggered, and I feel the negative self-talk, and then I would go just read the Bible. I'd flood my mind with words from the Bible and just keep reading and reading and reading. I would put on worship music So now what am I doing? I'm feeling that trigger. I see that I hear the negative self-talk and I disrupt it. Okay. Now what can I do? Instead of going to take and do that negative activity that's bringing death and destruction and harm to my life, I create a action or activity, a medication, if you would, or a treatment for, or a coping mechanism that can be beneficial. That's a powerful hack, and you're disrupting the pattern and then changing what you would normally do. So mine happened to be the Bible, and mine happened to be where I would listen to worship music and sing and pray to disrupt the flow of the negative thing that I used to do. And it was powerful because over and over and over, I'd feel that trigger and that cycle get kicked in, and then started creating a beneficial habit that brought me what blessings. It brought me to a mindset and an understanding where I was reading things in the Bible. I was learning. I was changing my thought process, and then also I was literally the treatment and the coping mechanism was the power and the Word of God, and I believe it's supernatural. Now, again, that's just one thing that I've done in the past. There's also been exercise. Go exercise. Go get on a rowing machine. Go for a hard, crisp walk. Because what you want to do is change your state when you're in that state of addiction. Literally, your breathing will change. You'll feel your reaction to emotions. Your breathing changes, your patterns changing. You're like in that loop. You're in that addiction mode, so you're disrupting it with a new activity, though, a beneficial activity. I know people that do. They go for walks, they go for runs, they will breathe, do breathing treatments, and maybe even stop and medicate or meditate. That's their new way to medicate, is to meditate and calm and connect with Father. um, we use Epic 30 as a new cycle that you can disrupt and start feeling the negative self-talk. And even with Epic 30, you can write down all the negative self-talk that you're experiencing through journaling to release it, and then receive a message from Papa God, and then do GWs, right? You're replacing this cycle with something beneficial. Are you following me? There's so many different things that you can do that can be beneficial when you're in that state of being triggered. So now I'm triggered, right? And how do I also go from a trigger to a triumph? And I described it. We're creating new cycles, new patterns that are beneficial. So now that very thing that controlled me and began and was creating the hurts and hangups were creating a negative cycle that was bringing death and destruction to me, now can bring life and actually be beneficial. And I love the verse that says, God will work. Papa, Father, Abba. I want to get better at saying that instead of God. Father, our Father in heaven, will use all things to work together for good. He utilizes all things to work together for good. It's really powerful and very important to recognize that, understand that. And so it is a powerful process when you can take that trigger and you can bring it to a state of triumph. Again, it's forgiveness, empathy, having understanding of the person that triggered you, that what they've been through, and hurt people hurt. So maybe if they're hurting you or they're coming at you in a certain way, potentially they have challenges or things they went through in their life. So having understanding of that, having empathy and understanding, and then being able to put yourself in their place that and maybe they've done or things they're doing, even when you were hurt as a young child by your parent, by a relative, a sibling, or something that the trauma that you went through in your childhood that created the story, that created the neural passageways, created the addictions um, that were harmful to you, that you recognize that that person that created that trauma, put that trauma on you, potentially they went through their own trauma and they're just doing what was done to them. Are you following me? That's part of even having understanding and empathy towards that person that hurt you and again abused you potentially. It's not about giving them um justifying what they did. It's not justifying. There is no justification for the hurt that was done to you. There's no justification for the abuse, for the neglect, for the abandonment. However, It's understanding so that you are not controlled by it anymore, so that you can create a cycle that is beneficial and get out of the loop of death and destruction. Are you following me? That's the power and the benefits of triggers to triumph. And recognizing it, then we can now create a better story around it. When you can create a better story, we create a better history, our life history, then we can actually begin to become a victorious story, a story, and create patterns that are bringing life now instead of death. And in that story, we go, okay, I survived this trauma. Again, it doesn't justify it, but what it does do is like, I'm a pretty amazing person that I'm still alive, or I'm a pretty amazing person that I haven't done so much of the negative addictions that I didn't die in the process of these addictions and these habits. I am now becoming a victorious person because now the very trauma that in that situation was bringing death and destruction, was meant to harm me or even potentially could have taken me to death, it didn't. So now I can say, wow, we call it your hero story. You go from a victim story to a hero story of survival and the story of triumph. So there you have it. It's the process. It's the process of triggers to triumph. And I give you possibly a whole different version, a whole different perspective, whole different understanding. And again, we'll go over this again with Chantel. Probably I'll print out the process even, because that's even helps to have the printout there. And if you're interested in this, you're interested in working through this and creating a better outcome, creating your triumph story, um, reach out to me, direct message me. I can get you the PDF that you can print out to go through this process, to process through, um, again, the hurt, the pain, the frustration that's caused through that, and then who was there in the original trauma and who's been there ever since, too. Anybody else that hurt you, anybody else that put you through that frustration and pain. And so going back full circle to Jesse's question, um, now about how to respond to him. It is. I do believe that Triggers to Triumph is ultimately a very powerful process that will help him or them have a different outcome. And again, I would also help them to see and understand potentially there is some judgment or some issues towards leadership, towards authority. And where did that come from, right? You start to learn when you're helping people through this process of Triggers to Triumph, you start to learn what are good power questions and things to help them to see where this trigger or this trauma is coming from. And then again, what they're focusing on matters, as we know, right? Where their energy flows and goes. So, hope this is helpful. Those of you out there, hey, you made it on. There he is. Rick, what's up, bro? Mr. Yoder. All right. And good stuff. So true. Thanks. Richard. Some very interesting people jump on here on YouTube and start posting random stuff. But if you have a comment or a question, I would love to address it. I do have a few more minutes here. I know some of you jump off at 6, and I totally get it. I happen to not have a client this morning or any kind of appointment at 6 a.m. So if any of you would like to ask another question or even a follow up on Triggers to Triumph or a situation you've been through and how would you handle this, Carlos? And what do you think the trigger is, or what do you think the trauma is? If you want to put in the questions in the chat, a question for me, I'd love to address it and help you with these negative patterns that you're seeing formed, the cycles you're having in your life that just keep leading you to bad health, keep leading you to bad relationships, keep leading you to the results are not what you want. Pop it in the chat. Ask the question. Ask a follow up question. I'd be glad to. And here on TikTok or here on YouTube, here on Facebook, where is it that you're from? And tell me your question. And by the way, while you are here, I would love for you to take a look at YouTube. Okay. Our YouTube channel is Amish Matchmakers. If you're on TikTok and you don't do YouTube, follow us on TikTok then. We are wanting to increase our followers. So would you follow us? And give us a shout out even on TikTok. But on YouTube, our first target, let's see how close we got yesterday. Every day we've been getting new subscribers. And I asked you, I said, hey, would you be willing to help us? I know a lot of you that tune into our channel on YouTube, Amish Matchmakers, that you haven't yet subscribed. If you would take time to subscribe, it would be highly, highly beneficial to us, and would be a huge benefit to others as well. Because when you subscribe to our channel, it lets YouTube know that our content is beneficial to you, and they send it out. The algorithms, the AI now that's controlling all the different ways people see things on social media is actually going to um, let others know about our content. Oh, this person likes it, we're going to send it out to more people. This person likes it, we're going to send it out to more people. And that's how it gets proven that people like your stuff, is they subscribe to it. Now I know in the community that we serve and the people that we talk to, the Amish, they don't do these things. Well, I don't subscribe to stuff. I don't want anybody to know that I'm following you or that I'm listening to you. I'm a very private person. I get it. But would you help us out? And if you're willing to do that, I will say to you that we will bring the very best that we have. We won't hold anything back. We will actually bring the very best content, very best information, all of our um, systems, strategies, all of our secrets, so to speak. We're not going to hold anything back. We're going to bring it all to you and help you to know and see that it is very beneficial to walk the things that we have and the benefits that we have. Okay. We're going to bring that to you and help you to see that it is beneficial, and help you to become a better person with the strategies and skills that have worked for us and that have helped many others. We're going to bring that to you as well. And oh my goodness, our first target was 500. Wow. Thank you. We're at 499 right now. I was just looking it up. That is freaking cool. How awesome. Thank you, those of you that did subscribe. One more person, you could be the one to kick it over to 500. And that's a big step for us on YouTube. Can you take a minute and just hit subscribe and then hit the notification bell? Because that will literally notify you when we go live, when we bring content, when we bring our nuggets and our strategies and our systems that have helped us to have an epic life. Epic your life, right? So please take the time right now. Let's go to 500. Is that possible to go while I'm here talking to you, to actually go to 500? That would be amazing. Wow, we're at 499. You could be the one. So would you take a minute to hit subscribe on YouTube so we could jump over to that number 500? Wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize we had gotten so many yesterday. We were at something like 490 something yesterday, and now to be at 499 is pretty awesome. So thank you all of those that did subscribe. And guess what our next target is? You can help us reach our next big target is 1,000. And when we hit 1,000, I'm going to go live here in front of God, in front of you, in front of everyone. I'm going to shave off my mustache with my barber Pepe. I'm going to shave my mustache off and get the Amish look, where it's kind of looks Amish. My wife's like, "Are you serious, Carlos?" He's like, "No, Dad." That's my daughter. She's like, "No, don't do it, Dad." Why not? Let's do something crazy. Let's do something fun. Probably get some suspenders too. Again, we are completely 100% English. Neither Chantel or I have any like Amish culture in our history or our background, but we met Jesse Kaufman, helped him to get engaged in less than 12 weeks, and then helped him in getting married, and then helped him develop his marriage and legacy and business. And now he's helping other singles with Single to Married 5 years later, doing incredibly awesome to help singles. And we work together in that process as well as the Amish Matchmakers. We are matching people up, mentoring, and helping them to get engaged. We've created that strategy. So bottom line is that's where the Amish Matchmaker came from. is where we originally helped Jesse 5 years ago. And then now, 5 years later, 80% of our clientele are from the Amish background or Anabaptist background, and seeing that grow and grow and grow. So you can be the one right now. You could subscribe on our YouTube channel. This is fun. And we could see it change right in front of my eyes to see the subscription go to 500 would be awesome. So Amish Matchmakers on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll bring the best content. And also when we hit 1,000, tell your friends, spread the word. When we hit 1,000, I'm going to shave this mustache off in public in front of everyone on video, live with my barber, Pepe. Put on some suspenders, put on a hat. And man, maybe they'll, maybe I'll get adopted into the Amish culture when I look that way. I don't know. Is that what it takes? I'm kidding. No, it doesn't. But we have been it's been such a pleasure and honor to get to work with the Amish community and be around them in that way. But again, give me some feedback here and some questions as we're still on here. Thanks those that are tuning in and hanging out with me live. I've always got stuff to talk about. We just went through Triggers Triumph. We went through MVP, finishing strong on Friday. But is there something I could share with you or answer some questions that would be beneficial to you, your life, your marriage, others' lives? Maybe it's something you've been working through. Maybe it's business. Maybe it's relationship stuff. I don't know. What is it? Tell me what it is, and then potentially we can see if we can help you with that process. Let's see if we switched over to 500 yet. Let's get on Amish. Let me go look it up now. Amish Matchmakers. Oh, where are they? There they are. Bam. And let's see if we can go to the channel. And so weird how to get on here. Oh my goodness. Doesn't let you go to the channel, does it? Let's see. Amish Matchmakers trying to go to the channel. View channel. There we go. Oh, not 500 yet. I thought we might see it happen. You know, if you've already subscribed, thank you. But it will be cool to see it go to 500. Maybe I'll see it by the time someone watches this recording. They'll be that number 500 subscriber on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, would you be willing to go over to our YouTube channel, Amish Matchmakers, and subscribe? Help us to hit that number 500. And then our next target will be 1,000. Boom, we're going to jump quick. Woo, woo, woo. We can do it, right? Finish strong Friday. I wonder how many we could do in one day. That'd be quite an awesome campaign. The January 1st shave. Is that what it is? Well, I'll do the January 1st shave. Oh, that's right. Richard was saying we were going to shave it all off. Well, I know we talked about that, but what I decided was, hey, it would probably look pretty cool first. Maybe do them both. I don't know. Richard's been a while without it. It's been a long time for you, brother, since you had no beard. It'd probably scare your children. I know that happened one time with me. Hazel's always loved having me have a beard. And I remember one time I shaved it all off and I had this towel and I went into the kitchen table. We were sitting down to do Epic 30 and I had the towel over my face and I was like scrubbing my face and I went, "Wah!" And I wish I would have recorded it. And she goes, "Ah!" She literally started crying. Poor thing. Oh my goodness. And there is other, like, they have a lot of videos like that now where dads who have had their beard for a very long time and they have little kids, they will shave it off and the kids are kind of freaked out when they see them for the first time without a beard. Oh, it's interesting. But anyways, what is it that you are doing here? Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? I'd love to see them. I'd love to address them and go over them with you, things that you're working on. Like, subscribe on our channel. TikTokers, welcome. Thanks for being here. Would you be willing to follow us? We'll bring more content and more information to you guys as we go. Thanks for being here on TikTok. Some of you that are new here, joining our channel, saying hello to you. Thanks for being here. This is Love Talk. with the Amish Matchmaker, where we help Amish to marry godly spouses, Amish singles to marry Amish. Sorry, we help Amish singles to marry godly spouses. There we go. Create epic marriages and also develop legacies that are founded, rooted in freedom and faith. It's been a great morning today. If nobody else has any questions here or any comments for me to address, I will call it a day. I know on TikTok they have you do challenges. I did that the other day, and if you give me a thumbs up or a token or something, they say, hey, you should create a challenge where if they give you 5 tokens, you'll sing a song or something. That first day I said that and I started getting them. I don't even understand how that all works, but or what that meant to get a token or a cat. I think I have a little animal on here that says you're doing awesome, an encouragement nugget or something. um, but I wish you a great day. Have a great day. Go out there today and recognize, when you feel stuck or when you feel frustrated over a situation, um, it might be a trigger. It might be something that's holding you back. And if you work on it and address it, you can have better results in your life. Um, Seriously, help me achieve my first goal and I'll sing a song. That's what the thing says. I would sing a song, actually. I was really blessed last night. Just random conversation now with being out at an event for one of the oldest homes in Monroe, Georgia. Old governor's home, one of the governors of Georgia. See, I should know the history or I shouldn't talk about it. But again, we were invited to this, and it's the first time I've ever been exposed to it, went to it. But governor of Georgia, one of the governors of Georgia came from Monroe, and they have the home, the governor's home from Monroe there, and it's been restored and kept up. It's a historical home, and it's cool to see this home. And bottom line is, with Chris Stallings, it was fun to hang out with Chris Stallings and be able to sing with him. We sang some songs. A lady there, my goodness, I can't remember her name now. Gail, I think. What was her name? My goodness, she was an 82-year-old young lady, and she was playing the piano for us, and we all hung out. And she played the piano, and we hung out and sang lots of Christmas songs. We broke out and got into some worship, and I love singing. It was really fun to sing. And tonight, maybe I'll do some more singing tonight at our Christmas party here live at our ranch in Social Circle. So yeah, it was fun being in Monroe, being at that event last night, and just randomly, spontaneously singing a bunch of songs and in that beautiful home. And a lot of people were gathering again to celebrate the holidays and also to celebrate the home, as it is. They're constantly keeping it restored and constantly restoring it and fixing it up. So there's a lot of people that will donate to keep history alive and the history of Monroe, and the governor that, or the man that became governor or was governor of Georgia, had a home there. And anyways, lots of cool history. But yeah, it was fun to sing last night. That's what the point of it all was. And singing with Chris Stallings and yeah, my friend and the lady playing the piano. Yes, very, very cool. Let's see. And of course, the other thing was singing with Jessica Penner. So Chris Stallings, Jessica Penner, and then that older lady that was 82 that I actually don't remember her name. Was She was beautiful the way she played the piano. We all sang together. The four of us had some 4-part harmonies going at some points, but singing some really cool Christmas songs and then some worship songs. So I love music. I love singing. Little fun fact. All right. Well, I'm going to take off now. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this show, daily show, here on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. And again, thank you for those subscriptions. And I would ask again for you to jump on YouTube and to subscribe to our channel. Let's see if we can get that number 500 subscriber. That's a big marker and a big target. And then we're gonna make a run for 1,000. And I believe we can get to 1,000 pretty quickly. And then I will shave this mustache off. But finish strong. It's Friday. Finish strong. Merry Christmas to you. If we're going to see you tonight at the Christmas party, come on out. I'm excited to see you, hang out with you. Let's sing some songs. Let's have some fun. God bless you. Merry Christmas. And oh, by the way, next week, I might as well talk about this real quick. On Christmas Day, I'm heading to an orphanage in Mexico that we support. This year, we've decided I'm going to go. Chantel's going to stay, hang out with mom, and have time here with family, and really have that good quality time with Mama Marlise. And especially after Dad passing this year, she just felt really strong that she wanted to be here with Mom for the holidays, and I agreed. And then for me, I really felt strong that I wanted to go to Mexico and still visit the orphanage and help to see what their needs are. Every year we try to go down there between Christmas and New Year's. And so if you would love to be a part of that mission of blessing and helping the orphans, we are accepting donations for them. I would love to give you the link to send it directly to them, or I can take it and our next target for them is there's a laundry room that needs to be built for them. It would be a huge blessing for them to have this laundry room for there at the orphanage. And so again, we always try to do little projects. There's another bigger project which is uh, to improve and remodel the kitchen that they have, because again, they're serving sometimes up to 15, 16 boys in that orphanage. It's a smaller orphanage, but yet, look, that many boys, it's quite an expensive thing to feed, take care of, bless, and they help with the education for those boys and then continued education. I've got a video too. If you find it in your heart that yeah, I've been looking for a place to give and help others, I can give you the link. I can give you the video. We created a video several years ago, probably about 7 years ago now, 6 or 7 years ago. We created a video. I think it was 6 years ago, 2019, I believe it was, or maybe it was 2020, right before COVID hit. Um, and we created a video that just tells the story of the orphanage, tells the story of how it came, where it came from. I'm about 60 pounds heavier in that video. And I don't even think I have a beard in that video. Maybe I do. Yeah, I think I do. I do have a beard. Never mind. But it is from 6 years ago, and just telling the story of the orphanage about Lupe and Choita, who run the orphanage, the couple that run the orphanage there, and how we came in contact with them and how they started the orphanage and what it was. But if you're interested in that, I'll send you the video. I'll post the video maybe in the comments here. Yeah, maybe I should do that right now. I'm going to post the video in the comments about the orphanage that we serve and we bless every year and we give to and continue to give, and would love to have more partners helping and giving to them. It is much needed for them to have and to be able to have the funds to take care of those boys and even continue their education, right? Helping them to do their continued education, to not just stop with high school, but learn English, learn a trade, and learn how to take a life that was just, they were abandoned, a lot of them on the streets, as you watch the story, to then where they can actually do something with their life and walk out this journey of life in a more productive way. But I put the link in there, the story behind the orphanage. And I would ask, would you be willing in this holiday season, would you help us with this fundraiser? We normally visit them every year, and we'd love to partner with you to see if you can bring joy and cheer to them this year. pass it on, pass that link on, and please, would you help us? I just put it in the link again. If you stayed this long, I'm just asking you to be a partner with us in giving to this orphanage. They have a PayPal link that goes directly to them. PayPal me /Casa Hogar Monte Horeb. And again, you can watch the video, and on the video, it does have the link as well to give and help some orphans this holiday season. That again, youth, it's actually boys, a boys orphanage home, um, teenage boys that are just left in the streets, pushed out in the streets. And Lupe and Choyita are amazing people that love them well, help them to get off the streets. And it's a very powerful story. So watch the YouTube video about the story of this orphanage, and we are constantly supporting them and constantly asking others to help support them as well, because it makes a difference when you have uh, support and love coming from many different hands, right? And we have different projects we want to do there. So stay tuned, though. I'll be talking more about this week and next week, even because I leave on Christmas Day to go there. And even I think I'll be doing some vlogging, some videos, live videos there while I'm there. So love your support, love your blessings while I'm there, and supporting them would be awesome. And God bless you. Have a